Hello and welcome to the CFC Central YouTube channel. My name is Sam and this is my first video on YouTube. Now, Manchester City, never an easy fixture, let alone on the first day with a new manager, but 2-0 defeat. And there are two major issues we're going to look at, which relate to tactical as well as player profiling issues. This is how the two teams lined up on the weekend, and here's where the first issue pops up. This left side of the Chelsea lineup consists of some excellent players in possession, but also the weakest elements in terms of athleticism and defensive output. Before we dive in, a key point to remember: Cole Palmer and Nicholas Jackson, both some way short of full match fitness. Neither played more than 45 minutes in preseason, so whenever you're watching the next sequences, please keep that in mind. This is 48 seconds into the game, and you can see what Maresca wants from his side without the ball. Our number 8, Enzo Fernandez, is on the opposition number 8, Mateo Kovacic. Since Jackson is outnumbered by three centre backs, he has to wait for the ball to go to a wide centre back before looking to press. One of Nkunku and Palmer is always on double duty. Here, for example, Nkunku is the near side winger, so he has to do two things at all times: mark the opposition fullback, who is Rico Lewis, but also ensure that City's wide centre back on his side, in this case Manuel Akanji, is not allowed to carry into space. Caicedo and Lavia, as you can see, are there to keep an eye on City's attacking midfielders. Caicedo is on Kevin De Bruyne and Lavia is on Bernardo Silva. That leaves our fullbacks against their wingers, while both our centre backs keep an eye on Erling Haaland. Now, when Akanji strides into space, watch what happens. Enzo moves from Kovacic to Lewis, asking Nkunku to push on Akanji. The first thing to notice is that Jackson is oddly static. It's quite early in the game, usually shouldn't be like this, but he should be doing ideally one of two things. The first is pressing Akanji as soon as the ball is played to him, splitting the field and forcing Akanji to either go back to the keeper or to go long. Second is to take over Enzo's marker, which is Kovacic, when Enzo moves to press Lewis. Interestingly, he does neither. The second is that City now have a 3 versus 2 on our weak side. Enzo and Nkunku continue to press, but now Lewis is free. Kovacic is very good on the ball, so he easily draws Enzo out, and then he finds Lewis in space. The moment Lewis receives and drives into the space, there is slight panic. Lavia, the left-sided defensive midfielder, now springs to action and he tries to stop Lewis. Nkunku also, to his credit, is tracking his man. Lavia now takes over Lewis, following his attempt to underlap into the box, so he tracks him all the way through. Nkunku disengages and looks to offer a double team on Doku versus Kukureya. The problem, of course, is that Lavia has left Caicedo alone with two people, his own marker, Bernardo Silva, and also Kevin De Bruyne. In an ideal world, Palmer should be dropping to take on De Bruyne, and Enzo should be dropping from 10 to 6, leaving Kovacic and helping Caicedo. Neither happens. Is this a lack of tactical understanding, Palmer's lack of fitness, Enzo's defensive weaknesses? Perhaps all three. As Lewis moves into the box, you can see just how this imbalance creates issues. A 3 versus 2 on the far post with Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne, and Savinho against Gusto and Fofana. Luckily, the cross is poor. In the 22nd minute, an identical situation with a slight twist. Nkunku again on double duty. Enzo is on Kovacic and Jackson again not really involved as such. A 3 versus 2 again on the left side. Lewis again cleverly escapes the cover shadow and creates a lane to receive. Lavia again is forced to step out to stop Lewis. In the background, you can see a slight improvement. Caicedo shifts to leave his marker De Bruyne and take on Lavia's marker, which is Bernardo Silva, while Palmer comes inside to take De Bruyne. This is an identical situation to the last sequence, except instead of Doku, it is Savinho now, 1 versus 1 with Cucurella. Instead of playing Lewis in behind though, Savinho uses this underlap to drive diagonally into space. This forces Cucurella to follow inside, vacating the left back spot. This space should ideally be filled in by Nkunku because, well, he isn't marking anyone. But keep an eye on what he does in the next sequence. Savinho's run causes a lot of issues. Caicedo now has to abandon his new marker, Bernardo Silva, to try and stop Savinho. Notice that A. Palmer has not followed De Bruyne, B. Bernardo Silva is now free, and C. Nkunku is still not covering a position or taking up a marker. When the ball comes to De Bruyne, Palmer does pretty well to get back. Bernardo, the brilliant footballer he is, peels away to Cucurella's space. Lavia is now outnumbered 2-1 on the far side. De Bruyne gets into a position from where his shots have burned Chelsea multiple times over the years, and Nkunku is still dawdling in the same space. The shot, fortunately, goes wide. 36th minute now, and with City building up again, you can see Nkunku glancing over his shoulder nervously to check where Lewis is before deciding to press Akanji. Now the press lacked intensity, and Ruben Diaz clips the ball to Lewis with ease. What follows next again highlights a collective failing of the left side. This is a 3v2. Savinho, the winger, is making his PL debut. He beats Lavia, Nkunku, and Cucurella by himself to get close to the box, with Lavia and Nkunku both failing to keep up with Lewis's surge to underlap into the box. As you can see, multiple instances of the left side failing individually and collectively to contain the threat. The wingers, Nkunku and Palmer, have a heavy defensive burden, especially against ball-dominant sides like Manchester City. Here, Palmer, as the near side winger, starts with the dual responsibility of having to stop Guardiola from pushing and also cutting the passing lane to the winger. Here, though, City have thrown our man marking into disarray by placing De Bruyne out wide and Bernardo Silva on Caicedo, with Lavia having no central midfielder to mark. When Savinho drops from the last line, confusion ensues. Gusto tells Caicedo to take Savinho. Caicedo already has Bernardo to mark, so he asks Palmer to come narrower to block off the lane to Savinho. Palmer, however, also has two tasks to handle and has now been given a third. He throws up his hands in exasperation. What do you all want me to do? If Maresca keeps asking his best attackers to take up excruciating defensive tasks, this is a guarantee he will not last long. The second issue is probably what will define if Maresca's style is a success or failure in the Premier League. Man marking is an important facet of the game, but Maresca's insistence on sticking to it even in a mid and low block can cause major issues against clever sides. Take for instance the sequence from the 51st minute. Here everything looks good. Doku is up against Gusto, Lavia on De Bruyne, Caicedo on Bernardo Silva, even Nkunku on Rico Lewis on the far side. Palmer also approaching to help Gusto on the 1v1, keeping Guardiola in his cover shadow. The problem begins when Doku beats Gusto by driving inside. Now both our defensive midfielders have decisions to make. You can see both of them turn away from their respective markers to face Doku breaking into space. Caicedo steps up, leaving Bernardo Silva free, while Lavia slots into right back, where De Bruyne seems to be drifting to, which is good positioning and tactical awareness on his part. Bernardo Silva, the free man now, receives the pass, and with Gusto recovering to keep up with Doku, Caicedo now changes markers to go back to his original marker. Silva, however, quickly passes to De Bruyne and makes a run across. City are just incredibly intelligent and well-drilled, so they exploit every mistake very quickly. First, City's quick interchange has dragged Chelsea's pivots very narrow and left a gaping hole in front of their defense. Guardiola, the left back, recognizes this and peels off the back of Palmer, who should be marking him. When this happens, panic again sets in. Four Chelsea players look to go for the same man. Poor Caicedo has to abandon Silva again, who is now free. Lavia abandons De Bruyne, who is also free. Enzo leaves Kovacic to engage Guardiola, leaving Kovacic also free. Guardiola turns, finds the free Kovacic, who finds the free De Bruyne, and the ball is moved wide for Doku versus Gusto. Bernardo Silva now underlaps, dragging Lavia into the last line, and Caicedo realizes that Palmer isn't going to help with the 2v1 on Doku, so instead he tries to help. This leads to Chelsea in a back six with both their defensive midfielders vacating the crucial space at the edge of the box. Palmer is now 2v1 with Kevin De Bruyne and Guardiola, but fails to react in time to stop either one. De Bruyne is now free of his marker, goes easily into the pocket from where Kovacic will score the second goal later on, and finds Bernardo Silva, who drags the centre-back's narrow and lays it off to Haaland for a shot he usually puts away with ease, but this time shoots generously at savable height for Sanchez. Let's take this example early in the game. Chelsea are in their 4-2-3-1, everybody close to their markers. As Jackson has taken Kovacic this time, Enzo is free. Caicedo notices this and moves to press Guardiola, thinking Enzo would cover his marker Bernardo Silva. Savinho drops off the last line again, and Guardiola needles a pass through to him. Notice Bernardo has now moved away from Enzo and pinned Wesley Fofana. Lavia, who was earlier marking Rico Lewis, abandons his marker to screen the empty space that Caicedo has left vacant. Lewis is now free, and Nkunku has to drop and mark, which he does not do. Savinho runs at the back line. Gusto cannot step up with De Bruyne on the flank, so Fofana is forced to do so. Savinho now has two superb options: a simple square pass to Lewis, who is unmarked, or a more ambitious ball to Silva, making a run in the space West has just vacated. He chooses the latter option. Colville quickly closes down Bernardo. Haaland is ahead of Cucurella 1v1 inside the box essentially, a dead favourite to score. The cross fortunately is cut out very well by Colville. Chaos caused by individuals failing to keep track of their responsibilities is the issue again. Here, Nkunku and Enzo, both part of the front four highlighted earlier, the main culprits. This is what Chelsea need to fix in the games to come. Are Maresca's plans a total failure? Absolutely not. Chelsea did display a lot of positive examples of pressing effectively. Jackson here does what he usually does when he's fully fit and backs up the press, with four Chelsea players squeezing City into a corner. With fitness and time, the hope is that this particular instance becomes repeatable efficiently and effortlessly. However, Maresca will be taking a massive risk by playing Enzo, Nkunku, Lavia, and Cucurella on the same side. Worryingly, Joao Felix's weaknesses strongly align with the exact same weaknesses, and he also plays on the left side. Adding him to the front line would be asking for disaster in high level games. In games where Chelsea have sustained possession and can allow their on ball effectiveness to shine, these issues may not pop up as often. But Maresca's biggest headache now is how to fine tune the balance of the left side and mask the out of possession weaknesses of his front line. If you like this video, thanks for watching. Up the Chels.